I found footage of my wife and brother that they thought was erased years ago. 14 times. In my house. In my bed. They even opened an offshore account with money stolen from me. I didn't confront them. I waited. I planned. And when Sunday brunch came, I made sure everyone who mattered saw exactly who they really were. My name is Connor Bradley. I'm 44 years old. And until 3 weeks ago, I thought I had it all figured out. A successful dental practice I co-owned with my younger brother Jeremy. A beautiful wife who taught 3rd grade at Riverside Elementary. 2 kids who made me proud every single day. Olivia, my 16-year-old, was getting ready for college applications. Jake, my 10-year-old, still believed his dad hung the moon. I lived in a 4-bedroom colonial in Westfield, New Jersey, drove a Lexus, took the family to the Outer Banks every summer. The American dream, right? Wrong. It started on a Saturday morning in late September. I was cleaning out the garage, something Jennifer had been nagging me about for months. Between old tax files and boxes of Christmas decorations, I found our old security system's hard drive from 2019. We'd upgraded to a cloud-based system 2 years back, and this thing had been collecting dust ever since. I was about to toss it in the garbage pile when something made me hesitate. Maybe it was the investigator in me, the part that used to watch detective shows and wonder if I'd miss my calling. Maybe it was just curiosity. I carried it inside, plugged it into my laptop in the study, and waited for the files to load. The first few folders were exactly what I expected. Backyard footage of Jake on his swing set, the front porch, our driveway. Then I clicked on one labeled Living Room, August 2019, and saw the thumbnail preview. Jennifer, on our couch, but not alone. I clicked play. The footage was clear. Too clear. Jennifer walked in a frame, wearing one of my old button-down shirts, the blue one I'd been looking for last year. She was laughing, turned to someone behind the camera. Then Jeremy stepped into view, holding a bottle of wine from our rack. My wine. The Napa Valley Cabernet. I'd been saving for our anniversary. He opened it like he owned the place. Like it was his house, his couch, his wife. I watched them sit down together, watched the way she leaned into him, the way his hand found her knee. There was a familiarity there, a comfort that takes time to build. This wasn't their first time, not even close. I should have felt rage, should have felt my blood boiling, my fists clenching. But I didn't. Instead, something cold settled in my chest, something calculating. I sat there in my leather office chair, the Saturday morning sun streaming through the window, birds chirping outside, and I watched my entire life reveal itself as a lie. When the footage showed Jennifer touching his face, that tender gesture you only give someone you truly care about, I closed the laptop. I didn't cry, didn't shout, didn't break anything. I just sat there, perfectly still, and started planning. That night, Jennifer came home from a teacher's conference at 6:30, carrying her tote bag stuffed with papers she claimed needed grading. She kissed me on the cheek, asked about my day at the clinic, started pulling ingredients from the fridge for dinner. Normal. Everything was so damn normal. How was the conference? I asked, watching her chop vegetables at the island. Oh, Jennifer said, not looking up. Same old professional development stuff. They brought in some consultant to talk about differentiated instruction. Honestly, I could have taught the session myself. I nodded, sipped my beer. Jeremy stopped by the clinic today. Said he might swing by this weekend to help with that grill cover. Her knife paused for just a fraction of a second. That's nice of him, she said, resuming her chopping. Kelsey keeping him busy with the kids. I guess so. I replied, keeping my voice even. You know how it is. She laughed, that easy laugh I'd fallen in love with 17 years ago. Yeah, kids are exhausting. Speaking of which, where are ours? Olivia's at volleyball practice. Jake's upstairs doing homework. Good, she said, sliding the vegetables into a pan. I was thinking maybe this weekend we could take them to the orchard. Apple picking season and all that. I watched her move around the kitchen, comfortable in her deception. How long had she been doing this? How many times had she lied to my face while I smiled and believed every word? After dinner, after the kids went to bed, after Jennifer fell asleep beside me like nothing was wrong, I went back to my study. I pulled up the hard drive again and started going through every file, methodically, taking notes. Dates, times, locations. Building a timeline. August 2019. September 2019. October 2019. November 2019. The files kept coming, each one a knife to the gut. Our couch. Our bedroom when I was at a dental conference. Our kitchen island where we ate breakfast as a family every morning. By 3 in the morning, I'd found 14 separate incidents, all documented, all time-stamped. The camera had been positioned in the living room entertainment center, something I'd set up years ago when we had issues with a housekeeper we suspected was stealing. I'd forgotten all about it after we let her go, but apparently it kept recording to the hard drive until the memory filled up in late 2019. I copied everything to 3 separate flash drives. One I'd keep with me. One would go in a safety deposit box. One would go to someone I trusted, though I hadn't figured out who yet. Then I started researching. Divorce lawyers. Asset protection. Custody laws in New Jersey. I read until my eyes burned, until the sun started coming up, until I heard Jennifer stirring in the bedroom. The dental practice was the complicated part. Jeremy and I were 50-50 partners. The business was worth roughly $2.3 million, built over 12 years of 7-day work weeks and careful expansion. We had 3 dentists on staff, 2 hygienists, a full administrative team. Dissolving that partnership would be messy, but I'd figure it out. I had time. They didn't know I knew. That was my advantage. Monday morning, I went to work like nothing had changed. Jeremy was already at the office, reviewing charts in his usual spot at the back desk. Morning, he said, looking up at the grin. Good weekend. Quiet, I replied, hanging my white coat on the hook. Cleaned out the garage finally. Yeah? Find anything interesting? Jeremy asked, turning back to his computer. I paused. Let the silence stretch just long enough. Just old junk. Nothing worth keeping. He nodded, completely at ease. Jennifer mentioned you guys might hit the orchard this weekend. We should make it a family thing. Kelsey and the kids would love that. Sure, I said, my voice steady. Sound good. And just like that, we went back to pretending. Him pretending he wasn't sleeping with my wife. Me pretending I didn't know. But I was already 3 moves ahead, and he had no idea the game had started. I found Martin Gresham through a colleague at the clinic, Dr. Patterson, who'd gone through a nasty divorce 2 years back. If you need someone who fights like a junkyard dog but keeps it clean, call Martin, Patterson had told me over coffee. He'll cost you, but he's worth every penny. Martin's office was in downtown Newark, tucked between a bail bondsman and a tax attorney. Not fancy, but that wasn't what I needed. I needed someone smart, ruthless, and discreet. He was in his late 50s, gray hair, sharp eyes that missed nothing. I laid out the flash drive on his desk along with a timeline I created. How many incidents total? Martin asked, not touching the drive yet. 14 documented on video. Spans from August through November 2019. All in my house, except 2 that were in my brother's car in our driveway. Martin leaned back in his chair. And you haven't confronted either of them? No. Good. Don't. He finally picked up the drive, turned it over in his hands. This is gold, Mr. Bradley. But we need to be strategic. New Jersey is an equitable distribution state, not community property. That means the court divides assets fairly, not necessarily 50-50. What about the business? I asked. My brother and I are equal partners. That's where it gets interesting, Martin said, pulling out a legal pad. Do you have a partnership agreement? Yes. Drafted when we started 12 years ago. Does it have a morality clause? Anything about conduct detrimental to the business? I thought back. Our father had insisted on including something about that when we drew up the papers, said it was important to protect the family name. Yes, it states that if either partner engages in conduct that damages the reputation of the practice or violates the trust between partners, the other partner has the right to buy out their share at a reduced valuation. Martin smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. Then your brother just made this very easy. Sleeping with a partner's wife? That's about as detrimental as it gets. We can force a buyout at 70% of fair market value. Maybe less if we argue emotional damages and loss of business reputation. He'll fight it. Let him. We have video evidence of him committing adultery with your wife in your home. No judge will side with him. Martin made notes on his pad. Now, about your wife. You said she teaches at Riverside Elementary. 3rd grade. Been there 11 years. Any tenure? Yes. That complicates things, but not fatally. Here's what we do. We file for divorce on grounds of adultery, which New Jersey still recognizes. We push for full custody of both children based on our infidelity and poor judgment. We freeze joint accounts immediately upon filing. And we make sure the school board knows exactly why one of their teachers is getting divorced. I hesitated. Is that necessary? Going after a job. Martin looked at me over his reading glasses. Mr. Bradley, she destroyed your marriage, your family, and your ability to trust your own brother. She did this in your home, on your furniture, probably while your children were upstairs sleeping. Do you think she deserves protection? He was right. The old Connor might have tried to be noble, to take the high road. But the old Connor was dead. He died the moment I clicked play on that video. No, I said. She doesn't. Good. Now, I need you to do something difficult. You need to act completely normal for the next 2 weeks. Don't let her suspect anything. Don't change your routine. Can you do that? I thought about sitting across from Jennifer at dinner, watching her lie with a smile. Thought about shaking Jeremy's hand at the office, pretending we were brothers. Yes, I can do that. Excellent. In the meantime, I'll draft the papers, line up a forensic accountant to value the practice, and prepare our custody argument. When we move fast. They won't know what hit them. I left Martin's office feeling something I hadn't felt since finding that footage. Control. Purpose. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a man with a plan, and that plan was about to turn their world upside down. The forensic accountant Martin recommended was a woman named Patricia Okonkwo, a former IRS agent who now made her living untangling complicated finances for divorce cases. She came to my house on a Wednesday morning when Jennifer was at school. The kids were in class. Show me everything, Patricia said, setting up her laptop at my kitchen table. Bank statements, business accounts, credit cards, investment portfolios. Everything. I handed her 3 years of financial records. She worked in silence for 2 hours, occasionally making notes or asking me to clarify a transaction. I made coffee, tried to focus on patient charts from the clinic, but mostly just watch her work. Finally, she looked up. You notice anything unusual about your joint savings account around March 2020? No. Should I have? Patricia turned her laptop toward me. Look at this. March 15th, a withdrawal of $15,000. Marked as home improvement. We did replace the deck that spring, I said. And what did that cost? Around $12,000. So where's the other $3,000? Patricia scrolled down. And here, May 2020, another withdrawal. $10,000. Marked as landscaping. I remembered that. Jennifer had wanted new trees planted in the backyard. Said it would add value to the house. That sounds right. Except according to the landscaping company you used, their invoice was $6,500. Patricia looked at me. Someone's been skimming money from your joint account. Small amounts, always disguised as legitimate home expenses. I've found 8 instances so far, totaling about $47,000 over 2 years. My jaw tightened. It wasn't just about the affair. They've been stealing from me too. Can you track where it went? Patricia clicked through several screens. That's the interesting part. The withdrawals were made via bank transfer to an account at Morgan Stanley. Want to guess whose account? Jennifer's. Close. It's a joint account. Jennifer Bradley and Jeremy Bradley. The room seemed to tilt. My wife and my brother have a joint bank account. Opened in February 2020. Based on the deposits, they've been funneling money into it from both your joint account and, if I'm reading this right, from the dental practice accounts as well. She pulled up another screen. Your brother's been billing the practice for consulting fees, equipment maintenance, and marketing expenses that don't exist. He's basically been paying himself twice and splitting it with your wife. I stood up, walked to the window, tried to control my breathing. This wasn't just an affair. This was calculated, long-term theft. They've been planning something, building a nest egg behind my back. How much total? I asked. In their joint account, right now, it's sitting at $212,000. $212,000. Money that should have been invested in our children's education, in retirement, in our future. Instead, it had been siphoned off to fund my wife's affair with my brother. There's more, Patricia said quietly. The account is registered to an address in the Cayman Islands. It's not technically offshore, but it's structured in a way that suggests they were trying to hide it. If I had to guess, they were building an exit strategy. An exit strategy. They were planning to leave. Together. This money was their escape fund. I sat back down, processing this. Everything clicked into place. The affair wasn't just about desire or attraction. It was a plan. They were going to take the money, take each other, and leave the rest of us behind to pick up the pieces. Can we get back? I asked. Patricia smiled. Once you file for divorce, we can freeze that account. It's marital property, hidden through fraud. Not only can we get it back, but we can use it as evidence of financial misconduct. Your wife will be lucky if she walks away with anything. I looked at the screen, at the account balance mocking me. $212,000. But it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about justice. It was about making sure they paid for every lie, every betrayal, every stolen moment they thought they'd gotten away with. Do it, I said. Document everything. I want them to know exactly how badly they miscalculated. Patricia nodded and went back to her laptop, and I went back to planning the one thing that would hurt them more than losing money. Public humiliation, complete and total exposure, the kind they'd never recover from. Sunday brunch was 2 weeks away. My mother called on Thursday afternoon while I was at the clinic. I almost didn't answer, busy with a root canal that was taking longer than expected, but something made me step out and take it. Connor, honey, do you have a minute? Her voice sounded strained. Sure, Mom. What's up? There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing, gathering courage for something. I need to talk to you about something. Can you come by the house after work? Is everything okay? Is it Dad? Your father's fine. This is about you. And Jennifer. My stomach tightened. What about Jennifer? Just come by. Please. I don't want to do this over the phone. I finished the root canal on autopilot, rescheduled 2 afternoon appointments, and drove to my parents' house in Cranford. Mom was waiting on the porch, a cup of tea in her hands, even though it was 70 degrees outside. Come inside, she said. Your father's at the hardware store. It's just us. We sat in the living room, where I'd spent countless Sunday dinners, where Jeremy and I had opened Christmas presents as kids. Mom twisted her wedding ring, a nervous habit she'd had for as long as I could remember. I should have said something sooner, she started. Maybe if I had, you could have avoided some of this pain. Mom, what are you talking about? She looked up, her eyes wet. 6 months ago, I saw something. I was dropping off that casserole dish Jennifer borrowed, remember? I had a key, let myself in like I always do. I heard voices upstairs, laughing. I thought maybe you'd come home early, so I went up to say hello. I already knew where this was going. The bedroom door was cracked open. I saw Jennifer and Jeremy, together, on your bed. Mom's voice broke. I stood there frozen, couldn't believe what I was seeing. Then I just left. Didn't say anything. Didn't confront them. I just left the casserole on the counter and drove home. Why didn't you tell me? My voice came out harder than I intended. Because I wasn't sure what I saw. It was just a glimpse. Maybe they were just talking. Maybe I misread the situation. I didn't want to accuse them of something so horrible without being certain. And then I told myself I was being paranoid, seeing things that weren't there. But the more I thought about it, the more certain I became. I just couldn't bring myself to destroy your family over something I might have imagined. I sat back, processing this. My mother had known, or at least suspected, for half a year. While I was going through the motions, playing the happy husband and brother, she'd been carrying this weight. You weren't imagining it, I said quietly. I found video evidence. Multiple occasions over several months. It's been going on since at least 2019. Mom covered her mouth with her hand. Oh, Connor, I'm so sorry. I should have told you immediately. I should have been stronger. You were trying to protect me. I get it. And I did. She wasn't trying to hide their betrayal. She was hoping she was wrong, hoping her son wasn't being destroyed by his wife and brother. What are you going to do? She asked. I told her about the lawyers, the forensic accountant, the offshore account. I told her about the plan for Sunday brunch in 2 weeks. She listened without interrupting, her face growing paler with each detail. You're going to expose them in front of everyone. That's the plan. Your father will be devastated. Jeremy's his son, too. Jeremy stopped being anyone's son when he decided to sleep with my wife. I stood up, walked to the window. I need you and Dad there. At the brunch. I need you to see this, to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. We'll be there, Mom said. Whatever you need, we're on your side. Jeremy made his choices. Now he has to live with the consequences. I hugged her before I left, held on longer than usual. She wasn't perfect. She should have told me 6 months ago. But she was still my mother, and she was still in my corner. That was more than I could say for half my family. The Sunday brunch was set for October 15th at Jennifer's parents' house in Summit. They hosted it every year, a tradition going back to before Jennifer and I were married. Usually about 20 people. Her parents, her sister and brother-in-law, Jeremy and Kelsey with their 2 kids, my parents, Jennifer's grandmother, a few family friends. This year will be special. I called Kelsey on a Tuesday evening. She answered cheerfully, probably expecting another mundane call about coordinating schedules or borrowing tools. Hey, Connor. What's up? I need to see you. In person. It's important. The cheerfulness faded. Is everything okay? Are the kids all right? The kids are fine. But I need to show you something. Can you meet me tomorrow? Coffee shop on Broad Street. Connor, you're scaring me. I know. Just trust me. 10 o'clock tomorrow. Come alone. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in a back corner booth, nervously shredding a napkin. I ordered 2 coffees and sat down across from her. What's going on? Kelsey asked. She looked exhausted, I noticed. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Not the put-together woman I was used to seeing. I pulled out my laptop, opened a folder, turned the screen toward her. I need you to watch something. It's going to be hard, but you need to see it. I played one of the shorter clips. Just 90 seconds, but enough. Kelsey watched without expression, her face going completely blank. When it ended, she said nothing for a long moment. How many? She finally asked. 14 documented incidents. Probably more that weren't captured. How long have you known? 3 weeks. Kelsey laughed, but there was no humor in it. I've known for 3 months. Or suspected. Anyway. Found hotel receipts in his jacket. Charged to his credit card. He said they were for client meetings. I wanted to believe him so badly that I actually convinced myself it was true. I'm sorry, I said. Don't be. I'm the idiot who stayed. She looked at me, her expression hardening. What's your plan? I told her everything. The lawyers, the offshore account, the partnership buyout, and the brunch. You want to expose them publicly, she said. In front of both families. Let everyone see who they really are. Good. Kelsey's voice was cold now. All the warmth gone. They deserve it. But I want to be part of it. I want them to know I knew. That I'm not some naive victim they fooled. What do you have in mind? She smiled, and it reminded me of a wolf. I'll handle the guest list. Make sure everyone who matters is there. Jennifer's boss from the school. The chairman of her dental association. My parents. We'll make it a real family gathering. The kind people talk about for years. We spent the next hour planning. Kelsey knew things I didn't. She knew that Jennifer had been talking about leaving me for months, telling her friends I was boring and predictable. She knew Jeremy had been shopping for condos in Hoboken, looking for a place where he and Jennifer could start fresh. She knew about dinners they had together, trips they'd planned, a whole future they'd been building while we played the fool. I want to be the one to invite your mother, Kelsey said. Jeremy thinks she doesn't suspect anything. I want to see his face when she walks in and he realizes she knows. Done. And I want to sit next to Jennifer during the reveal. I want to watch her face when the video starts playing. Also done. We divided responsibilities like generals planning a battle. Who would sit where? When the video would start? Who would control the remote? How we'd prevent them from leaving before everyone saw what they'd done. Every detail calculated, measured, precise. When we finished, Kelsey reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Thank you for showing me. For not leaving me in the dark. We're in this together now, I said. Yeah, we are. She stood up, gathered her things. 2 weeks. Let's make it count. I watched her leave, shoulders squared, head high. Jeremy had underestimated his wife. They both had. That was going to be their biggest mistake. The morning of October 15th arrived clear and crisp. One of those perfect autumn days that New Jersey does so well. Jennifer spent an hour getting ready, choosing a cream-colored dress that she said made her look sophisticated. She had no idea she was dressing for her own execution. You seem nervous, Jennifer said in the car, glancing over at me. The kids were in the back, Olivia texting, Jake playing on his tablet. Everything okay? Just thinking about work, I replied, keeping my eyes on the road. Big week coming up. We arrived at her parents' house in Summit at 11. Cars already lined the street. Kelsey had done her job well. I counted at least 25 people, more than usual. Jennifer's parents, her sister Amanda with her husband, my parents, Jeremy and Kelsey with their kids, Jennifer's boss, Principal Hawthorne from Riverside Elementary, Dr. Patterson from the clinic, even Thomas Brennan, the chairman of the New Jersey Dental Association. Wow. Big crowd today, Jennifer said, sounding pleased. Mom must have invited half the neighborhood. It's going to be memorable, I said. Inside, the dining room table was loaded with food. Jennifer's mother, Caroline, had outdone herself. Bagels, lox, quiche, fresh fruit, pastries. Everyone mingled, chatting and laughing. Jeremy found me in the kitchen, clapped me on the shoulder. Good turnout, huh? Jeremy said, grinning. Dad's already talking about the Jets game. You want to grab a beer? Sure, I replied evenly. Let's enjoy the day. Kelsey caught my eye from across the room. She gave a small nod. Everything was in place. The laptop was connected to the TV in the living room, hidden behind the couch. The remote was in my jacket pocket. All the pieces were positioned. At noon, Caroline called everyone to sit down. People filled the dining room and spilled into the living room where extra chairs had been set up. I made sure Jennifer sat near the front, close to the TV. Jeremy was next to her. Kelsey sat on Jennifer's other side. My mother sat with my father in the second row, her face composed but her hands clasped tightly together. Caroline stood at the head of the table. Thank you all for coming. It's wonderful to have family and friends together. Before we eat, I want to say how grateful we are for. Actually, Caroline, I interrupted, standing up. Before we start, I have something I need to share with everyone. Something important. The room went quiet. Jennifer looked up at me, confused. Connor, what are you doing? Just something everyone should see, I said, pulling the remote from my pocket. Bear with me. I pressed play. The TV screen flickered to life. The thumbnail image appeared. Our living room. Our couch. Then the video started. Jennifer walking in a frame, laughing. Jeremy following her, carrying a wine bottle. Their hands touching. Him leaning in. Her responding. The timestamp glowed in the corner. August 23rd, 2019, 2:47 p.m. The room erupted into chaos, but it was muted, distant. I watched faces instead of the screen. Jennifer turned white, her hand flying to her mouth. Jeremy stood up, so fast his chair fell backward. Caroline gasped. Jennifer's father, Robert, went rigid, his jaw clenched. But the first person to actually move was Robert. He stood slowly, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. His face had gone the color of ash. He didn't say a word, just stared at the screen for 5 more seconds, then turned and walked toward the patio door. Not to leave, just to breathe. The second person to stand was Kelsey. She didn't look at the screen. She looked directly at Jeremy, her face a mask of cold fury. I'll have your things on the porch by tonight, Kelsey said, her voice cutting through the stunned silence. Don't bother coming inside. Don't call. Don't text. My lawyer will contact you on Monday. Kelsey, wait. Jeremy started. Don't, she said. Just that one word, but it carried the weight of every lie he'd ever told her. Then she walked out, head high, shoulders straight. Jennifer finally found her voice. Turn it off. Connor, turn it off right now. I didn't move, didn't speak, just let the video play. 30 more seconds. A minute. Everyone watching. Principal Hawthorne with her hand over her mouth. Thomas Brennan shaking his head slowly. My mother, tears streaming down her face, my father's arm around her shoulders. When the clip ended, I finally spoke. That's on 14 videos I found. 14 separate occasions. All in my house. Some in my bedroom. All while I was at work, or at conferences, or taking our kids to soccer practice. Jennifer stood up, her hands shaking. You had no right. You had no right to do this here, in front of everyone. I had every right. I cut her off, my voice steady and cold. You destroyed our marriage. You betrayed our family. You had an affair with my brother in my home, in my bed. And you did it with a smile on your face. So yes, I have every right to make sure everyone knows exactly who you are. Jeremy tried to move toward me. My father stepped between us. Don't, Dad said to Jeremy. You've done enough. Principal Hawthorne stood up, gathered her purse. Jennifer, we'll need to meet on Monday. First thing. She didn't wait for a response, just left. Thomas Brennan approached me quietly. Connor, I'm sorry. This is unacceptable behavior for a member of our association. We'll need to discuss Jeremy's membership status. Then he too left. One by one, people filed out. Some stopped to squeeze my shoulder. Others just left silently, unable to process what they'd seen. Jennifer's sister Amanda hugged me on her way out, whispered, I'm so sorry. You deserve better. Within 15 minutes, only a handful remained. My parents. Jennifer's parents. Jennifer, still standing frozen by her chair. Jeremy, backed into a corner. And me. I want a divorce, I said to Jennifer. You'll be served papers on Monday. The house is mine. The accounts are frozen. And you can forget about any claim to the dental practice. Our partnership agreement has a morality clause. Jeremy violated it. He's out. You can't do this, Jeremy said. His voice shook. I already did. Martin Gresham is my attorney. Patricia Okonkwo is my forensic accountant. They've documented everything, including the offshore account you and Jennifer opened with money stolen from our joint accounts and the dental practice. $212,000. That's fraud. That's embezzlement. That's criminal. Jennifer's legs gave out. She sat down hard, her face buried in her hands. Robert finally spoke, his voice rough. Get out of my house. Both of you. Jennifer, Jeremy. Get out. You're not welcome here anymore. And that was it. No screaming match. No physical altercation. Just the cold, final severing of every tie that had bound us together. I'd found hidden camera footage of my wife and my brother. I didn't fight back with fists or rage. I just exposed it during Sunday brunch, in front of everyone who mattered. Her dad rose first. Then my brother's wife did. And the rest fell like dominoes. I left Jennifer's parents' house at 1:30. My parents followed me back to my house in Westfield, Olivia and Jake riding with them. Neither of my kids had spoken since the video played. Olivia's face was streaked with tears. Jake just stared out the window, processing something his 10-year-old brain couldn't quite understand. Inside, I made coffee while Mom took the kids upstairs. I could hear her gentle voice, explaining, comforting. Dad sat across from me at the kitchen table, the same table where Jennifer and I had shared thousands of meals. You did the right thing, Dad said finally. Did I? Look at what it did to the kids. The kids will heal. They're strong, like you. But they needed to know the truth. They needed to see that actions have consequences. Dad reached across, put his hand on mine. Your brother betrayed you in the worst way possible. He doesn't deserve protection. He doesn't deserve mercy. My phone buzzed. A text from Martin Gresham. Papers will be served tomorrow morning. Everything's in motion. Call me if you need anything. Another text, this one from Kelsey. Thank you for having the courage to do what I couldn't. The kids are okay. We're okay. You're a good man, Connor. I sat there as the afternoon faded into evening, as my parents took care of my kids upstairs, as my phone filled with messages from family and friends. Some supportive, some shocked, all of them understanding that life, as we knew it had just imploded. Around 7, Olivia came downstairs. Her eyes were red, but dry now. She sat next to me, leaned her head on my shoulder. Are you okay, Dad? She asked quietly. I will be. Are you okay? I don't know yet, but I'm glad you showed everyone. Mom needed to be held accountable. She always taught me that honesty matters, that integrity matters. Guess she forgot her own lessons. I kissed the top of her head. I'm sorry you had to see that. I'm not. I'm 16. I'm not a baby. I deserve to know the truth. She pulled back, looked at me. What happens now? Now we rebuild. Just the three of us. It won't be easy, but we'll figure it out. Jake came down next, crawled into my lap like he used to when he was younger. Is Mom coming home? He asked. Not tonight, buddy. Probably not for a while. Good. I don't want to see her right now. That broke my heart more than anything else. My 10-year-old son rejecting his mother because of what she'd done. But I also knew he was processing trauma, that his feelings would evolve over time. For now, I just held him. That night, after my parents left and the kids were finally asleep, I sat in my study and opened my laptop. An email from Patricia Okonkwo waited. Preliminary divorce, filing ready. Asset division favors you 80-20 based on fault and financial misconduct. Custody recommendation. Primary physical with you. Supervised visitation for Jennifer pending psychological evaluation. Partnership buyout. $820,000 for Jeremy's 50% stake. Based on morality, clause violation. He won't fight it. $820,000. Less than half what his share was actually worth. But the morality clause gave me leverage. He'd sign or face criminal charges for embezzlement. Another email, this one from Principal Hawthorne. Connor, I wanted you to know that Jennifer has been placed on administrative leave pending a school board investigation in a conduct unbecoming of a teacher. Given the public nature of today's revelation and the impact on our school community, her employment may be terminated. I'm sorry you and your family are going through this. Jennifer's career was over. Her marriage was over. Her relationship with her family was destroyed. Everything she'd built over 17 years, gone in one afternoon. Some people might call what I did cruel. Might say I should have handled it privately, quietly, given her dignity. But dignity is earned. And she'd forfeited hers the moment she brought my brother into my bed. I closed the laptop, turned off the lights, and went upstairs. Checked on both kids. Olivia was asleep, her phone still clutched in her hand. Jake had his stuffed bear, the one he'd had since he was 2. Both of them breathing steadily, peacefully. They were what mattered now. Not Jennifer. Not Jeremy. Not revenge, or justice, or vindication. Just these 2 kids who needed their father to be strong, to be present, to show them that even when your world falls apart, you can build something better from the ruins. Tomorrow, Jennifer would be served. The legal machinery would grind forward. But tonight, I was just a father watching his children sleep, grateful that at least I still had them. 3 days after the brunch, Jeremy showed up at the dental clinic. I was with a patient when Sandra buzzed me. Your brother's here. Says he needs to talk to you. Should I call security? No. Tell him I'll be out in 20 minutes. I finished the crown prep, made sure Mrs. Hoffman was comfortable, then went to the waiting room. Jeremy sat in the corner, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Unshaven, wrinkled clothes, hollow eyes. Kelsey had made good on her promise. He was living out of a hotel. We need to talk, Jeremy said, standing up. My office. 5 minutes. That's all you get. Inside my office, I didn't sit. Didn't offer him a chair. Just stood with my arms crossed, waiting. Jeremy paced, running his hands through his hair. I know I messed up, he started. I know what I did was unforgivable. But Connor, we're brothers. We're family. There has to be a way to fix this. Fix this. You slept with my wife. In my house. For months. You stole money from our business and from my personal accounts. You destroyed my marriage, my family, and any trust one ever had in you. There's no fixing that, Jeremy. I made a mistake. A mistake. I cut him off, my voice rising for the first time. A mistake is forgetting to call on someone's birthday. A mistake is being late to dinner. What you did was calculated, deliberate betrayal over months. You looked me in the eye every single day and lied. You came to my house for family dinners. You played with my kids. And the whole time, you were sleeping with their mother. Jeremy's face twisted. Jennifer came on to me. She said you were distant, that you didn't pay attention to her anymore. She said, I don't care what she said. You had a choice. You could have told me. You could have talked to me like a brother. Instead, you decided to destroy everything we built together. I walked to the desk, pulled out a folder. These are the buyout papers. $820,000 for your 50% stake in the practice. That's 40% below market value. But the morality clause gives me the right to set the terms. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I slid the folder across the desk. Sign it. Or I press charges for embezzlement. Patricia documented every fraudulent transfer you made. That's a felony. 3 to 5 years minimum. Your choice. Jeremy picked up the papers with shaking hands. You'd really send your own brother to prison? You stopped being my brother the moment you betrayed me. Now you're just a business partner who violated our agreement. Sign the papers, take the money, and get out of my life. He signed. Every page, his signature getting sloppier as he went. When he finished, he looked up at me with something like hope. Maybe someday. No, there's no someday. There's no reconciliation. There's no family barbecues or Christmas dinners or watching our kids grow up together. You made your choice. Now live with it. Jeremy left the folder on my desk and walked out. I watched through the window as he got into his car, sat there for a moment with his head on the steering wheel, then drove away. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sadness, no regret. Just the cold finality of a door closing forever. That afternoon, Jennifer called. I let go to voicemail. She called again an hour later. Again, voicemail. The third time I answered. What do you want, Jennifer? I want to talk. About the kids. About us. Connor, please, can we just... There is no us. There's you, and there's me, and there's a divorce. That's all. The kids are fine. They're with me. You can see them supervised visits once the custody arrangement is finalized. Supervised? Connor, they're my children. And you destroyed their family. You had an affair with their uncle in their home. You stole from their college funds to finance your relationship with my brother. You don't get unsupervised access until a judge says you do. I never meant to hurt them. Or you. It just happened. Nothing just happens, Jennifer. You made choices. Every single day, you chose to lie to me. You chose to betray our marriage. You chose Jeremy over your family. Those were conscious decisions. Own them. She was crying now. I lost my job. The school board fired me this morning. My whole career gone. My friends won't talk to me. My parents won't return my calls. I have nothing left. You should have thought about that before you destroyed everything. My voice was flat, emotionless. Martin will be in touch about the settlement terms. Don't contact me directly again. Everything goes through the lawyers. I hung up before she could respond. Blocked her number. She tried to frame this as a mistake, an accident, something that spiraled out of control. But it wasn't. It was a calculated betrayal, executed over months, funded with stolen money, and hidden behind a facade of normalcy. Now she was facing consequences. Real ones. Her career destroyed. Her family estranged. Her children choosing their father. And I felt no pity. Just the satisfaction of knowing that justice, cold and final, had been served. The following spring, the divorce was finalized. I got the house, primary custody of both kids, and 70% of our marital assets. Jennifer got supervised visitation every other weekend and the remnants of her pension. The offshore account was split, but only after I recovered the full amount stolen from our joint accounts. Jeremy's buyout went through. He took his $820,000 and moved to Pennsylvania. Last I heard, he was working at a corporate dental chain, making a third of what he used to. Kelsey got full custody of their kids. Jeremy sees them twice a month when he can afford the drive back to New Jersey. The practice thrived without him. I brought on Dr. Sandra Kwan as a partner, a brilliant dentist who'd been looking to buy into an established practice. She brought fresh energy and new clients. Within 6 months, we'd expanded hours and hired a fourth dentist. The business was worth more now than it had been with Jeremy. Olivia graduated high school with honors and got into Boston University. She chose to major in psychology, said she wanted to understand why people make the choices they do. We talked regularly, rebuilt our relationship stronger than before. She'd forgiven me for the public nature of the exposure, understood now why I'd done it that way. Jake adjusted better than I expected. He spent 1 year in therapy, working through his feelings about his mother's betrayal. He still saw Jennifer on scheduled visits, but he was distant with her. Polite but not warm. That hurt her more than anything I could have done. On a Saturday morning in March, I sat on my back deck watching Jake play basketball in the driveway. The same driveway where so much had fallen apart. But now it was just a driveway. The house was just a house. The memories had been replaced with new ones. My mother stopped by with groceries, her weekly ritual since the divorce. "How are you really doing?" she asked, sitting next to me with coffee. "I'm good, Mom. Actually good. Not just saying it. Any regrets?" I thought about that. About the brunch, the public exposure, the scorched earth approach I'd taken. No, they needed to be held accountable. If I'd done it quietly, they would have controlled the narrative. This way, everyone knew the truth. Your father's proud of you. He doesn't say it enough, but he is. Tell him I appreciate that. After she left, I went inside and found a card in the mail. From Kelsey. Inside, a simple note. "Thank you for giving me the courage to leave. The kids and I are doing well. You're a good man, Connor Bradley. Don't forget that." I put the card on my desk next to a photo of Olivia and Jake. They were smiling, genuinely happy. That's what mattered. Not revenge. Not vindication. Just these two kids who were learning that integrity matters, that actions have consequences, and that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away from people who don't deserve you. That evening, I took Jake to dinner at his favorite burger place. Just the two of us, father and son. "Dad," Jake asked, dipping a fry in ketchup, "are you ever going to date again?" "Maybe someday." "Why?" "Because you deserve someone who actually loves you. Not like Mom. Out of the mouths of children." "Thanks, buddy. But right now I'm good. I've got you and Olivia. That's plenty." He nodded, satisfied, went back to his burger. And sitting there in that booth, watching my son eat and laugh and just be a kid again, I realized something. Jennifer and Jeremy hadn't destroyed me. They'd tried, but they'd failed. I was still standing, still whole, still moving forward. I'd found hidden camera footage that revealed the worst betrayal imaginable. But instead of letting it break me, I'd let it remake me. Stronger, clearer, more certain of who I was and what I deserved. The old Connor might have forgiven them, tried to salvage something from the wreckage. But I wasn't the old Connor anymore. I was someone who understood that some betrayals are unforgivable, that some bridges need to burn, and that walking away from toxic people isn't weakness. It's survival. It's strength. It's choosing yourself and your kids over people who proved they never valued you to begin with. And that choice, hard as it was, turned out to be the best decision I ever made.